Attention!
Raging Review.
The Raging Cajuns will be a source of pride for this university, for the alumni, fans, and donors as we achieve success in the classroom, in the competitive arena, and in the community.
It's about to get really fun.
We're looking for dudes that will stand up. Well, Coach, let me tell you today, I'm here and I'm ready to stand up. And I challenge you, Raging Cajun Nation, to stand up with us. Stand up with us. Let's lock hand in hand and let's walk through the gates of Omaha.
Hey, I love y'all boys. Let's grind every day starting today. Let's do it. Y'all ready? Alert! Ready? Who's that team ready? Who's that team ready? That's up.
I got one thing to say right here. Cajuns win!
Ladies, gentlemen, children, babies, good evening. Welcome to another edition of the Raging Review podcast. I'm Jerry, joined by, well, there's nobody else here. So in the words of Jason Derulo, right now, I guess I'm riding solo. That's okay. We'll talk some Cajun sports. Louisiana dropping a heartbreaker to Marshall the other night by the score of 31-3 at Cajun Field for the Sun Belt Conference Championship. We'll go through a little bit of the stats there, give some analysis. Also, Louisiana Raging Cajuns now officially in the New Mexico Bowl to take on the Horned Frogs of TCU, a very, very good get for a solid quality bowl opponent, probably one of the better ones or probably one of the best ones you've had. Of course, the TCU Horned Frogs coming off 2 years ago playing for a national title. We'll talk some basketball. Cajuns on the hardwood tonight. Hopefully can get down to their winning ways as they took on Southeastern in the Cajun Dome. We'll also talk about portal news. Lots of news happening in the portal right now, and some good things and some bad things here and how it affects the Louisiana Raging Cajun football team. But first, let's talk about the Cajuns game against Marshall. And by the way, guys, if you want, please like, subscribe. You can make some comments on the stream. Of course, like I said, I'm riding solo for right now, but hopefully, whether it's Nick or Lane or Josh, if they want to join, we're doing a little bit of a late night Raging Review after dark. I know we had some fun the other night, and I have to give a shout out to Nick for setting up that podcast episode at lot 42 in the RV lot the other night. Of course, Nick decided that he wanted to go remote. And so we did the best we could to provide some good presentation, if you will. I also want to thank Josh for coming on and basically being his co-host. I thought that it was pretty funny. It was pretty funny, much needed, very lighthearted, pretty witty stuff. They did a great job with the pregame podcast episode. Of course, we had callers call in. Thank you so much for participating there to all our fans. And then also after the game was when it got really fun. I actually went back to my house. I left the game with very little time to go. I left right before the end of the game because I really didn't want to see Marshall celebrate on our field. I remember back in 2014 when Ole Miss beat the Cajuns in the Super Regional, and watching them dogpile, it still hurts to this day, even over a decade later. So I left a little bit early, but I was able to get home just in time because I know Nick had gotten to the RV and Josh met with him, and we tried to get everything going. They were able to get things started, but it was kind of a mess a little bit technologically speaking, because I know from a tech standpoint, the sound was a little bit off and whatnot. I know they were able to you guys were able to hear certain things, and I was able to hear certain things on my end. They were hearing things on their end. So we weren't really quite in sync there, but we made it work, and it made for some great content. And I know it was late. I know the mood wasn't as great coming off a heartbreaking loss like that at home for a conference championship game, but we did the best we could. And we appreciate the kind words from everybody who called in saying that, it was probably one of the better episodes, even though wasn't quite the sharpest or cleanest. We did the best we could, and we're hoping that in the future we can do that and kind of bring you that type of content. Things we kind of like to mix it up a little bit. We're not always going to be on our computers in front of a screen or a green screen behind us, but we will try to bring some remote episodes like we have in the past. We've had the chance to go to small businesses and air episodes. We've gone to local restaurants and have done some live streams. And we hope to do that more. Of course, Joel B. What's up, Joel? Of course, part of the Raging Cajun production team. Post-game podcast had me laughing. Yeah, it had a lot of us laughing. I guess after a game like that, we didn't have to worry about crying too much. I think we did enough crying walking out of that stadium. It was heartbreaking, but sometimes it's good to lighten the mood. Of course, it wasn't just Rage and Review After Dark. It was sort of like Rage and Review retro version because, of course, Josh comes back on and he and Nick are going back and forth. And, of course, we're interacting with callers, and it got pretty intense at some points, but we made it work. We made it work. So kudos to Nick, kudos to Josh for setting up the soundboard in the RV. We were kind of worried because I know around Cajun Field, sometimes the internet connection isn't the greatest. And, of course, Nick was able to get some fancy technology with the help of Elon to try to air everything out, and he was able to pull it off. Of course, we weren't able to pull it off early on testing out the equipment only because of the rain. Speaking of rain, I know that there were a lot of people out there tailgating and going out to Cajun Field, and I got to give a lot of credit to the fans out there who weathered the storm, not only during the game but during the day, getting out there in the rain, tailgating, eating some gumbo, drinking some beer. Walking around and trying to make the best of it for such a hardcore environment like a conference championship. It's kind of tough when you try to promote and you try to do everything you can to push for this game, and then all of a sudden Mother Nature just comes in and gives you a really hard slap on the face. Leading up to this week, we took it upon ourselves, besides just the university, besides just the athletic department, to really try to push this thing and do it in a grassroots effort that would allow us to just get the word out, whether it was going on social media, producing graphics, producing videos. There was a lot of local media outlets producing videos and producing all kind of cool graphics to set up for this game. The digital content was great. The messaging was great. And, I thought we pulled out all the stops to really get people at this football game. And, that's what makes this whole thing great whenever you're able to get the local community involved and get sort of this effort to push in games like these. And so really, really thankful for that. I thought that, talking to some of my friends and others that got certain projects involved to set up for this game, whether it's tailgates or just getting, Facebook videos. Of course, our friend Blake Bork goes out and posts a video that had thousands of likes. I mean, Coach Hud, kudos to Josh for getting Coach Hud to do a promo video for us, a blast from the past. That was awesome. And, Coach Hud, say what you want. Of course, we all love Coach Hud. We all loved what he did for this program. And I know his exit wasn't as pleasant as we would have liked, but it's great when you have guys like that or coaches like that come back and sort of still show love for this university and this football program and this football team. And for him to do that, and he did the full Go Cages with the 4 rings on his hand and his fingers. That was awesome. And so I can assure you, in the future, Coach Hud won't be as much of a stranger. Hopefully, we have some plans in the future to maybe have Coach Hud pop up every once in a while to say hi to everybody. So be on the lookout for that in the future as time goes on. But we want to thank Coach Mark Hudspeth for coming on and doing that promo. We thought that was great. Well done, Coach Hud. And it was a great way as a grassroots effort to get people out to the football game. Cajun Zookeeper makes a comment. Also, tell Nick when you text him, thanks for the Dinos. Yeah, CJ, I got to tell you, man, it was really funny. When Nick called me, I was at home watching the little one, waiting for the rain to stop so we can go to the game. That you, Lane, and Nick were hanging out, hiding from the rain. And, it's always great when you hear a voice, whether it's in our Twitter space for post games or text messaging or social media presence, but you actually get to meet them face to face. Unfortunately, CJ, I haven't met you yet, but I was glad that Nick and Lane were able to come hang out with you for a little while. So thank you so much for stopping by. Please don't be a stranger. All right, getting to it, let's talk a little bit about the Cajuns taking on the Marshall Thundering Herd. Again, obviously not the result we wanted. Marshall winning their first conference championship since 2014 when they were members of Conference USA, winning their first ever Sun Belt Conference championship in football. Final score 31-3 in front of a crowd of 20,067. Now, look, let me talk about the crowd for a second. I was very, very skeptical of the crowd. They had a big ticket push. We were really, really promoting social media on, people are to the point where people are showing ticket graphics on the green seats, the available seats. And even with the rain, even with the monsoon that passed on through during the day, I got to give a shout out to Cajun Nation for showing up. I know there's a lot of people from other fan bases that watched it on TV and say like there's nobody there. But you got to remember, a lot of those people don't understand that side of Cajun Field, this might have been the first time they watched a Cajuns game on TV. I mean, this was, for better or for worse, this was a national broadcast. We were on the mothership ESPN on Saturday night primetime. I mean, I think that's the first time we've ever have had that opportunity. And so to a lot of people that were making comments about the attendance, there was nobody there for the championship, I think a lot of people saw the home side of the stadium and realized that there's really nobody there, only because there was nobody there because of the construction. But if you look at the configured seats of where people were sitting, it was pretty full for the most part. And I thought that it was really, really impressive. Going into the game, I was nervous because I thought the rain would have kept people away. And lo and behold, come kickoff time, you walk in the stadium and there's a lot of people. So look, 20,000, was it exactly 20,000? No, it was probably under that. But at the same time, look, if an announced crowd of 20,000 showed up for a game where it rained all day and for most of the day, and it was just ugly and terrible and cold, look, for 20,000 people, I'll take it all day. I'll take this crowd. Actually, it's the third largest crowd out of the 6 or 7 home games we've had this year. So it was the largest crowd since Tulane, believe it or not, all the way back in early September. So look, kudos and shout out to Cajun Nation. I know some people may laugh at it, but I was very impressed based on the circumstances of the weather. I know Koozie Guy makes a comment, says student section felt full and the crowd was 100% louder. Yeah. I thought Cajun Nation brought their A game. They really did. And, the students showed up. It was an impressive student section. I just wish they had a little bit more to cheer for, but they did a great job. I'm sure the tailgate was, the best you can make it in a grass field, especially when it rains the way it did. I'm sure the student tailgate wasn't that great. And of course, Koozie God, AKA Joe, nice to meet you, Joe. In circumstances like that, when people are able to go out and tailgate, you hope that they stick around. And I thought the students did a good job. They showed up and they showed out. So job well done to the students. We're going to need more of that next season when we open up that new side of the stadium and the configuration changes a little bit more at Cajun Field. Of course, again, Louisiana dropping a heartbreaker to Marshall 31-3. Let's go through the stats real quick, starting off with Louisiana. Overall, first downs. Louisiana had only 11 first downs on the night. Marshall had 25. Cajuns were 2 for 16 on third down efficiency, which to me was kind of a heartbreaker considering the fact that the 2 for 16 proved that we couldn't stay on the field. I thought there were some opportunities where, I've always said all season long, what makes us great is we can extend drives and score on big plays. And we really didn't do that Saturday night. We didn't extend drives. And look, I thought our defense, for the most part, did everything they could up until around midway through the third quarter. We just couldn't stay on the field offensively. And our defense got tired. And anytime you play an offense like Marshall that could score at will, you have to be able to move the football and keep the defense basically hydrated so they're not worn out. And that didn't happen. That did not happen. And, that 2 for 16 on third down efficiency proved it. Marshall, on the other hand, they were over 50% on third downs. They extended drives. They did exactly what we were supposed to do And because of that, they just, when you do that, you extend drives, you wear out a defense, and that's what they did for us. I thought physically, they were a lot more physical than we were on both sides of the line of scrimmage. Was not happy about that. I kind of wish that we would have kind of set a precedence early on, which is kind of our keys to victory. I've always said throughout the year, when a lot of times in a lot of these games we've won, we've done that. We didn't do that on Saturday night on either side of the football. Anyway, fourth down efficiency, Cajuns were 3 for 5. Marshall was 1 for 1. Total yards of offense, Louisiana had 255 total yards of offense. Marshall had 410. Passing yardage, Louisiana had 199 yards passing. Marshall had 193. The combination of quarterbacks, so Chandler Fields was 4 for 8, 104 yards. Let's see, that would mean so Chandler Fields was 4 for 8, 104 yards. That would mean that Daniel Beal was 9 for 24 for 95 yards. Yeah, 95 yards. And I think he had an interception thrown as well in the first half. This is the part that disappointed me the most, rushing. Now, I've always said our bread and butter ever since HUD was here was running the football. Louisiana had 56 yards on the ground, 56 yards of rushing to Marshall's 217. That means they had just about 4 times the amount of rushing yards that the Cajuns had. And we had 56 yards on 28 rushing attempts, which means we were getting 2 yards a carry. Marshall had 217 yards on 44 attempts, 4.9 yards a carry. I mean, that's almost 2.5 times the amount of rushing yardage per carry that Marshall had on us. And of course, again, we had 1 turnover due to an interception. We also had 9 penalties for 98 yards. Very undisciplined. Some of these unsportsmanlike conduct penalties, you can tell it was due to frustration. I thought our players weren't as disciplined in handling that adversity the other night, which was kind of frustrating. But Marshall also had 6 penalties, 60 yards. And of course, there were a lot of jawing back and forth. Now, this is where it kind of gets a little lopsided and kind of sums up the whole story of the other night. Marshall had the ball 33 minutes and 56 seconds. Louisiana had the ball 26 minutes and 4 seconds. And that, to me, made a big difference because, again, extending drives. They were able to extend drives. We couldn't do it. And so because of that, they just wore us down. All right, let's go to individual stats real quick. Check in. Chandler Fields, 4 completions, 8 attempts, 104 yards, no interceptions, no touchdowns. Daniel Beal, 9 for 24, 9 completions out of 24 attempts, 95 yards, and 1 interception. Total completions, 13 for 32 between the two quarterbacks, 199 yards, and 1 interception. Rushing, Louisiana, Zylan Perry had 6 carries for 25 yards. Draylon Washington, 8 carries for 19 yards. Chandler Fields had 2 carries for 14 yards. Daniel Beal had 7 carries for 1 yard. And then Bill Davis, the bulldozer, not his night. 4 carries, -2 yards. Yeah, that pretty much sums up the night for us. In receiving, Lance Lejeune led in receiving yards for the Cajuns, 4 receptions, 81 yards. Harvey Broussard had 4 receptions for 80 yards. Davion Smith, 1 reception, 13 yards. Draylon Washington had 2 receptions for 13 yards. Jacob Bernard had 1 reception for 6 yards. And Caden Jensen, 1 reception for 6 yards. On defense, Louisiana tackling led by Casey Osai, 7 tackles total, 4 solo. Cam Whitfield had 6 total tackles, 4 solo, 1 sack, 1 tackle for loss. Carmichael Glass had 6 tackles, 4 solo. Mason Narcisse had 5 tackles, 5 of which are solo. And then Tyrone Lewis had 5 tackles, 4 solo. And Fitzgerald West, 5 tackles for 4 solo and 1 tackle for loss, just to kind of give you a little bit there. Again, attendance was 20,067. And because of that, Louisiana's record now drops to 10-3 overall. If you want to include the championship game, that they end the conference record with a record of 7-2 for the year. Marshall also 10-3 and conference champions. So now, because the Cajuns dropped this game to Marshall on Sunday, we found out what bowl will they be going to. And ironically, not so bad. It's a new bowl that the Cajuns haven't been to. Not to say the bowl is new, but the Cajuns are going to the Isleta, New Mexico Bowl in Albuquerque. And if you're wondering, that stadium where they're playing at is the University of New Mexico, the Lobos. That's their football stadium. They'll be taking on the TCU Horned Frogs. That game will be played on Saturday, December 28th at University Stadium. 19th annual game will be televised on ESPN. Kickoff 1:15 Central Standard Time. So a Saturday afternoon kickoff. All of the information for bowl tickets, you can go to theragingcajuns.com and take a look at where to buy tickets and, of course, travel plans, right? Flying out to Albuquerque. I mean, they do have a decent-sized airport. You could probably get there through, out of Lafayette or out of New Orleans or Baton Rouge, somewhere close. I'm sure United probably does a straight flight from Houston and, of course, American going to Dallas. They do a straight flight from there as well, from Dallas. So you can connect through Lafayette. Obviously, there's no straight flights unless you rent a charter plane, which is pretty expensive. Cajun Zookeeper says that it's a $700 cost to fly to Albuquerque. Yeah, I could see that, especially considering that Albuquerque, usually smaller destinations are a little bit more expensive only because there's far few between amount of flights compared to like a Dallas or a Las Vegas or a San Francisco, LA. Usually the bigger cities are a little bit cheaper only because there's more bulk of the amount of flights. So when you go to a city, like a medium-sized city like Albuquerque, it probably will be more expensive. So just to let people know, I mean, you're going to have to fork out some money if you want to fly, but just try to look for the deals. Try to look for the deals. I mean, if you don't want to fly out of Lafayette and make it more expensive, maybe make the 3-hour drive to Houston. You can fly from there. Cajun Zookeeper says that this is from MSY, Moisan or Armstrong. So anyway, there you have it. Yeah, Kyle, I apologize. Like I said, I'm solo tonight, so I'm trying my best. Just bear with me. Just trying to give some basic information. And, yeah, hopefully if anybody wants to come jump on board, maybe we can do that sometime later on. If you guys have any questions or comments, please feel free. We'll talk about it. And yeah, anyway. So again, Cajuns are playing in the New Mexico Bowl against TCU. Now, just a reminder, TCU played in the national championship 2 years ago against Georgia. Of course, they got blown out by the score of 65-7. But it's pretty cool that Louisiana gets to take on an opponent that basically played for a national title very recently. So this is probably, in my opinion, the biggest name as far as a bowl opponent goes that the Cajuns have ever had. In the past, we've had San Diego State. We've played East Carolina. We played Houston 2 years ago. Last year, we took on Jacksonville State, which was an FCS call-up, and we lost the game. But at the same time, playing a team like TCU, they're also a member of the Big 12. So this is actually a P4 opponent, and this is actually the first time we've played a P4 opponent in a bowl, and that's kind of something we've always talked about as a fan base, how nice it would be to not play somebody from maybe the American or somebody from Conference USA. We get to play a Big 12 team, and a Big 12 team that's very well known, and a Big 12 team that I think if we play our cards right, we have a chance to win. It's going to be tough. It's going to be challenging, and I'm hoping that we're healthy, and I'm hoping that not too many more players go into the portal. But this is an opportunity for us to really – this could be a groundbreaking game for this program if we can find a way to win that game. Because TCU, again, this is the same team that played for a national title just 2 years ago. That's pretty significant. I mean, if you would have told me 15 years ago or 16 years ago before we had made a bowl game for the first time in 40-something years that we would be taking on a team that played for a national title just a few years before, I would have taken that all day. And we get to do that. So as time gets closer, we'll talk more about that game. I know we're 2 weeks away, so of course this will kind of be treated, next couple of weeks be treated as if it's sort of like a bye weeker, if you will. So we'll get a little bit of a break, but that's a lot more anticipation leading up to this bowl. Of course, Christmas coming up, so we do have some distractions on the side, but that's okay. That's okay. It gives a little more time. It's a little more conversation around the dinner table around Christmas time when you're opening gifts and you're meeting with your family. So I see the Cajuns play TCU in the bowl game, and that's what I plan on doing, especially with my family. They'll be asking questions about that. Most of them pull for the perp. Some of them went to school in Baton Rouge. I got some, family that went to Tulane, and of course, we always try to pick at each other on who's playing who. What do you think? What's your team looking like? Blah blah blah. So it'll add to some good content during the holiday season. Just a little more information about this game. Again, you can purchase tickets at RagingCajuns.com. I think. Let me see if I can pull this up real quick, guys. Bear with me here. I'm trying to get some information to see if we can. I'll try to read it out just so you guys can kind of take a look at where to purchase or what to purchase. I know I received if you're a RCAF member or a season ticket holder, you should have received an email about that, where to get your tickets or how to get your tickets. So I don't know if it's the most accurate of what I just said, but definitely you can definitely go. Here we go. Ticket information. Purchase tickets here. You can go on RagingCajuns.com. You can actually go on the football page. Let's see. Let's take a look here. Purchase tickets here. So there's the New Mexico Bowl Central, which is the website that I just went to. You can actually go there. It's it's on the Raging Cajun website. I'm sorry, and it gives you all the information about the teams. Gives you information about the tickets, the history, the stats, what to know about TCU, and then just to let you know, tickets will be allocated using the RCAF Total Investment Model Ranking System. It will be sent via email. Prior to game day, tickets will be located at midfield between the 40-yard lines just for $55. For questions, please call the Louisiana Ticket Office, 337-482-1420, or tickets@louisiana.edu, and a representative will respond as possible. Just to let you know, the deadline to purchase bowl tickets and be eligible for priority seating will be Tuesday, December 17th. So a week from yesterday. So that's 6 days away, the deadline to purchase bowl tickets and be eligible for priority seating. All tickets will be mobile delivery. All tickets will be mobile delivery. So I guess it's going to be on your mobile phone or your iPhone or your Androids. It should all be on your phone, just like we have for our home games this year and all UL home game events. Also, just to let you know, the Cajuns will stay at the Sheraton Albuquerque Uptown, located on 2600 Louisiana Boulevard Northeast in Albuquerque, New Mexico. How ironic. They're going to be staying at a team hotel in Albuquerque located on Louisiana Boulevard. So if you're interested and you want to stay with the team, the Sheraton Albuquerque Uptown, located at 2600 Louisiana Boulevard Northeast in Albuquerque. You can also have a link here that you can click on to book your stay. There's also on this page, the Bowl Central page on RagingCajuns.com, they have the stadium layout. They'll most likely tell you where the fans are sitting. They'll have there's a whole layout of the parking situation, basically the University of New Mexico campus. The gates, what time the gates open. They has a page of the UL Bowl history, and also the university stadium clear bag policy. So there is a clear bag policy you may want to take a look at if you want to go to this game. And so that'll give you all the information at Bowl Central. You can also, you can purchase your tickets. I'm about to click here real quick. You purchase your tickets. It will send you to the Pac Yolan site, the Raging Cajuns ticket office site that you usually buy your tickets. You can click here, buy now for $55. And if you sign in, you order your tickets here, make any comments, you can do that here at the Raging Cajun ticket website that you usually buy your tickets at. Of course, if you don't have a login, make sure you get a login and you will be able to do that there. So let's talk a little bit about TCU. So TCU this year, they had a pretty up and down season, but for the most part in the Big 12, they came out in sixth place in the Big 12. They had an 8-4 record with a 5-3 conference. Let's see, a 6-3 conference record. Their wins were against Stanford, Long Island U. They also beat Kansas. They beat Utah. They beat Texas Tech. They defeated Oklahoma State. They beat Arizona, and they beat Cincinnati. Their losses include UCF at home by 1 point, SMU, who is now in the college football playoff. They also lost to Baylor by 3 points, and then they lost to Houston, who, might I add, the starting quarterback was Zion Chris. So they're not a bad football team. They're actually a really good football team. This is going to be a big challenge for the Cajuns. And, of course, I'm on their website right now. It says New Mexico Bowl, Louisiana. Ironic they call us Louisiana. Maybe some other people may go and send them an email and try to correct them, if you know what I mean. Anyway, so yeah, TCU's got a good football team this year. We'll talk more about them as time goes on. Right now, I'm not going to bore you with the stats, but that's definitely a great matchup. Again, as time gets closer and the guys come back on and join me, we'll kind of dive into the upcoming game with the TCU Horned Frogs in the New Mexico Bowl. So again, Cajuns are going to the New Mexico Bowl. Game will be played on December 28th. Kickoff will be at 1:15 Central Standard Time on the mothership ESPN, and they will be taking on, for the first time in school history, the Horned Frogs of TCU out of the Big 12. It's going to be a great matchup. Great matchup. All right, real quick, moving on. Portal news. Louisiana Raging Cajuns have we always sing it's the most wonderful time of the year this time of year because Christmas is coming, but unfortunately for what Christmas giveth, the portal taketh away. News came out this week that Louisiana has quite a few players. I don't know if it's too many, but there's some significant players, if you will, jumping into the transfer portal. Of course, the big names include Terrence Carter, Draylon Washington, and they also have Harvey Broussard all jumping into the portal. So unfortunately, considering the fact that you've got some playmakers offensively. I mean, you've got one of the members of the three-headed dragon with Draylon Washington, which is going to be a huge loss because he adds depth to the running back core. You've got Terrence Carter, which that one really, that's a heartbreaker because of the presence he's made for himself and how far he's come along this season. He really was a huge playmaker and a huge asset to our offense. He's going into the portal. Unfortunately, you just had to kind of figure it out at that point that he was going to be somebody that, you just knew a big school was going to be interested in him, or a bigger school or P4 is going to be interested in him. So it's, as much as it stinks, it's not a surprise. And then, of course, Harvey Broussard, who, last year that was more of a scare on whether or not he would go into the portal. But this year he stayed put, and now he's back in the portal, or he's in the portal looking for other opportunities. Of course, let's see. I'm going to try to make a little bit of a list here on some other players who jumped in here. I know we said we had those three were really tough to watch because again, they combined for quite a few touchdowns. That was tough. Especially considering, the connections that it was cool to watch the connections that the quarterbacks like Ben Wooldridge and Chandler Fields had. And that's another thing too I wanted to add. And I know I totally forgot to mention this. Again, bear with me because I'm riding solo, and that's okay. But, man, speaking of quarterbacks, the other night, Chandler going down, that was tough. That was tough. I knew when he went down that we were going to have a tough time. And I think it was early in the second quarter when that happened. And or I'm sorry, I want to say, yeah, it was in the second quarter when he went down, he took a dive and he fell on his shoulder. It looked like he was holding it pretty tightly. And I just said, man, that is total deja vu with what happened to Ben Wooldridge just a few weeks ago against South Alabama. And when that happened, I looked at one of my friends. I said, this is not good. This is not good. We do not need this right now. We do not need this right now. And so he gets back up, and the first thing they do is they bring him to the tent and they roll him off up the tunnel into the cart. And I knew it's like, okay, we're in trouble. Now, with that being said, I've always liked Daniel Beal, and I've always thought that Daniel Beal was the future. And so look, say what you want about Daniel, okay? When you're put in a situation like that for the conference championship, and look, just remember, guys, Daniel, I think he's getting redshirted this year. Correct me. I don't know, but I want to say he's getting redshirted. He still will fall under the eligibility rule because he's played less than 4 games. I think he's only played, I think that was the second game he's played in. So technically he can still start in the bowl game and still get all 4 of his years. he would technically still take a red shirt. So we basically played with a quarterback that is currently getting redshirted and had to come in and start in a conference championship game. No, his stats weren't great. Yes, you can tell he made some freshman mistakes. But for the most part, the fact that he went in there and did the best he could and competed, I will say this about Daniel. The future looks very bright. The future looks very bright. No, there were some throws he didn't make. Yes, he showed some certain times he showed some promise in certain situations. I thought his pocket presence, believe it or not, was a lot more poised for a freshman to come in the scenario and situation that he came in. So, I'm not going to draw any judgment on Daniel with his performance because, he was kind of thrown into the lion's den, if you will, in the scenario that he was in. And he came out and he fought. So it was funny because the other night I saw a bunch of fans, whether it was social media or on message boards, they were like, man, Daniel was only 9 for 24. And I said that on the post game. Man, Nick lost his mind. Nick was like, who said that about Daniel? Who that? He started cursing. He took his headphones off and threw them on the couch where he was sitting. I'm sitting there like, man, I really upset the guy. But yeah, he look, Daniel was a fighter, man. He came in as a freshman. He's a trooper to do what he did. And obviously, didn't quite play up to par, I'm sure, with the way he wanted to. But anytime you're a freshman and you got to be put in a situation like that, I'll always tip my hat off to you. So I'll give a hat tip to Daniel. And this could be a great learning experience. The late coach Tony Robichaux always used to say, L after a loss, L also stands for learn. And this was definitely a learning experience for Daniel. I wanted to give that a shout out. Also to Chandler, buddy, we love you. We're so sorry that it had to happen this way for you. I know, you put your heart, soul into this football program, this team. It's been a joy watching you the last 5 or 6 years as a quarterback. You've been a great teammate. You've been a great leader. You've been a great presence in the locker room. Your future looks bright. I know Chandler is happily engaged to a great young lady. I think he wants to go to PT school. So Chandler's got a future ahead of him. And, if there's anybody who wore the Cajuns uniform with a sense of pride and just great character, it's Chandler Fields. So, again, Chandler, sorry it had to end this way, but man, we Cajun Nation's proud of you, buddy. And, one thing about great teammates and great players is selflessness. And, look, Chandler was coming in expecting to probably be the starter. Ben had a season-ending injury last year. He had a much faster recovery, and he came in and tried to fight for that starting job. And he and Chandler, they fought for the starting role for the last 3 years when you really think about it. And, they're still best of friends. They get along. That quarterback room is as tight-knit as it can be. And that's what you want. Even with competition, they make each other better. And every time Ben did something this year, Chandler was the first one to congratulate him. Every time Chandler did something, Ben was the first one to congratulate him. As a fan, seeing that and not seeing that jealousy has fit into the competition or any ill will has fought into the competition. The competition has not only made them better, but it's made them better teammates, better friends. And as a fan and as a supporter, you couldn't ask for more than that as a fan, especially, when Ben went down against South Alabama. I got to tell you guys, and I don't know what you guys are thinking, but look, it felt like business as usual when Chandler went in, right? A lot of times your starting quarterback goes down and like, oh my gosh, we don't know what, I don't know what to expect, right? It's kind of like what happened the other night. Nothing against Daniel, but he's in a new first time really getting play time. And in a situation like a conference championship against a really good football team, there were a lot of mysteries there. But with Chandler, it's a little bit different because we've seen what he's done before. He has had starting experience, and he's a good quarterback. And I thought that is a representation of a quarterback room that has each other's backs, and they're selfless. They're very, very, very selfless. And even Daniel, I've heard stories about when Ben's studying film, Daniel's in the film room with him. And as a freshman, that is something I want to hear as a fan, because if a freshman is taking that type of initiative to study film and learn everything from the upperclassmen quarterbacks, that goes to show you he's hungry. He's hungry. And, his experience from the other night, again, he's going to learn from it. So I just want to give a shout out to Chandler for what he was able to accomplish as a Cajun. I heard, based on social media, he had surgery the other night and went well. I know it's going to be not the easiest recovery, but buddy, we're pulling for you, man. We're pulling for you. So nothing but love for number 18. All right, talking about the portal again. Do some research here and see everybody that jumped into the portal real quick. Like I said, the top 3 guys that really stuck out: Terrence Carter, Draylon Washington, and Harvey Broussard. I know we had a tight end today announced. That was a Ty Stamey. He jumped into the portal today, I believe. Of course, he was one of the backups, tight end, not backup tight ends, but he was in the rotation. I think he was third in the rotation. But it's kind of unfortunate, because for him, he kind of would have helped with a little bit of depth next year, since Terrence was leaving. It's always tough when you lose more than one key player in your depth chart. And it looks like the Cajuns have already tried to make a run at tight end to make up for losing those 2 guys. They've offered Jake Young, a tight end from Western Carolina, 6'3.5", 240, first team All Southern Conference. Yeah, that would be great if he would come. He's also receiving offers from ODU, UTEP, Richmond, and UMass. Yeah, out of those 5 schools, we've won the most. This year, he had 28 catches, 321 yards, and 2 touchdowns. A catamount. He's a catamount. And, of course, I'm reading here, Terrence Carter had an offer from Florida State. He's had a bunch of offers, if I'm not mistaken. Cal, Houston, Liberty, Arkansas, Texas Tech. So, but people are high on Terrence Carter, and I totally get it. It's a shame, but, that's the way it is today. University of Houston looks like they've offered Harvey Broussard, and I think he got offered by Illinois and Wisconsin as well, or Illinois, Wisconsin, maybe Minnesota. So he's been offered by a bunch of Big Ten schools, and of course we'll get more news of offers and whatnot and where they're going. I know people don't want to hear it. They're moving on, and it sucks. It sucks, but unfortunately, that's NIL. That's the portal today. Let me pull up, let's see, NCAA portal. Bear with me here, guys. I'm going to try to see if I can find some portal news here. I think 247 Sports probably has that. Let's see here. School. I'm going to pull up. I'm going to go to the Sun Belt and see what the Cajuns have here. Unfortunately, I don't have all of this at the top of my head, but all right, here we go. Oh, no. Well, this is actually from last year, unfortunately. Uh-oh. This is all for 24. Let's go 25. 25. All right. So today, Ty Stamey in the portal. Harvey Broussard, Terrence Carter, Draylon Washington. Jathan Caldwell entered the portal. He's also a tight end, 6'3", 229. So that's 3 tight ends in the portal. DJ Williams entered the portal. He was, of course, the offensive lineman. So yeah, that's what so far. DJ Williams, Jathan Caldwell, Dre Washington, Terrence Carter, Harvey Broussard, and Ty Stamey. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 guys for Louisiana in the portal right now. Just to kind of give you an idea, let's look at Marshall real quick. So they actually had, of course, as you know, Charles Huff, no longer the head coach at Marshall. He went to Southern Miss, and because of that, there's a bunch of players in the portal from Marshall. Wow, I'm counting them right here. Let's see. Let's take a look. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. Wow, there's almost 25 players in the portal right now for Marshall. It just goes to show you whenever a coach leaves, how fast they will jump. Now, like I said about Christmas, you Christmas giveth, and of course the portal taketh away, but also the portal can giveth as well. Big news for Louisiana. Even though we're losing some guys, we gained a big one. Walker Howard officially commits to Louisiana from Ole Miss. Of course, Walker Howard, the big-time blue-chip quarterback out of St. Thomas More, son of Jamie Howard, starting quarterback for the Tigers down the road back in the 90s. He's got the Howard family. They're a big name around town. Walker, great quarterback. I remember at STM, a lot of hype. Sat for the Tigers in Baton Rouge for a few years, transferred over to Ole Miss. And unfortunately for him, he became the third-string quarterback. And at that point, he probably felt he wanted to play. So, of course, why not come back home to Louisiana and be a Raging Cajun? So that is the big news. A lot of excitement there. Walker Howard now officially a Louisiana Raging Cajun. Look, I understand the hype, and I understand why so many people are excited. I mean, we're all excited about that because it's a big name. A lot of national pundits were talking about Walker coming to UL. But also, like, let's kind of break it down a little bit. Besides just his quality as a quarterback and the potential he has as a quarterback, you just lost two 6-year or 7th-year starters or players. Like, you just lost two major quarterbacks that have been here since. Chandler's been here since 2019. Ben's been here since 2021, and that was after he transferred from another G5 program at Fresno State. You're losing a lot of experience with those two guys in the quarterback room, and so losing Ben and Chandler and having Daniel Beal and I know Sam Altman and Lunch, Dwayne Winfield at quarterback, that's a lot of younger experience or inexperience on the playing field outside of Daniel's performance the other night in a few games. But to add Walker Howard, no, he's not a starter, but that's a lot more talent you're adding to the quarterback room. And look, what makes it great, you've got the spring to compete. Here you are, you have Walker Howard, who is fully talented, full of potential, and just a big name against Daniel Beal, who also has a big name coming out of Catholic of Baton Rouge. Remember, Daniel won 2 state titles at Catholic of Baton Rouge, and he was looked at by some pretty decent schools before committing to UL. So you've got two quarterbacks, I think, that will compete for the job. I know it's kind of assumed that Walker's going to start, but, Walker does have a learning curve. He's coming into a new program, a new system, a new offense. He's going to have to learn the ropes. So, look, all I know is I love the fact that there's competition now. You're going to see a lot of competition on that field come springtime and early fall. And so, the spring game just got a lot more interesting in April. I'll say that. You've got two quarterbacks, one of which that has experience playing here. You've got another one that has a lot of potential to come in and do some great things. And look, in my opinion, I'll say this. I know Coach Dez is not just going to give, he's not just going to give the starting job to anybody. So what better way than to have those two compete? So I'm looking forward to that. I'm really excited about that. And of course, Louisiana had a really good signing class a couple weeks ago. So there's going to be a lot of new talent coming in. And hopefully, I think the big thing about Walker coming in is not just the fact that it's Walker Howard signing with the Cajuns. I'm hoping that creates a residual result of more players coming in as well. I hope that that could be something that can motivate players from maybe other P4s that say, you know what, I want to do what Walker did. I don't really have much experience. I have potential. I want to play. I want to go show up and show out. And I want to go do it at Louisiana. I want to go play with Walker. And so I don't know what's going on behind the scenes. I try not to get in the middle of all that stuff just because I know NIL is such a dirty business, guys. You've heard some coaches this week comment on it and on the ways they do things to get players and all of the tampering and all the rule breaking. And it's dirty. It's a dirty thing now. But it is what it is. You have to be able to adapt to it. But hopefully Walker coming to UL definitely adds some opportunity for other players to come in and say, I want to go play there. I want to go. If Walker Howard goes into UL, I want to go there too. And I think we can do that. I think a 10-2 record or a 10-3 record, a chance to play in a conference championship, a conference runner-up. We're the conference runner-up this year, and we're playing P4 in a bowl game. We were kind of in the hunt for the CFP for a few weeks. I mean, who knows? A Walker Howard and maybe 5 or 6 other guys like him that may want an opportunity to prove themselves and come here and play with the talent that we already have that we can replace as well. I mean, that may be the difference in you being in that playoff hunt next year again. And I'm not talking about, we lost to South Alabama. This team needs to beat that team and this team needs to beat this team. I'm talking about being in the hunt up until the conference championship next year with a few of those players. Now, the other thing is I hope they can adapt. I do hope that they can adapt. One thing about Coach Des and his staff, no position, no job is ever given. I do know for a fact that Coach Des, if you want to play here, you got to earn it. And I admire that. And so no matter how talented they may be, no matter how good they may be, how many stars they may have in their recruiting record, I hope that they come in and understand to these players, yes, you may get your NIL deal and you may get paid, but you also have to earn your play time. You have to earn your play time. And I hope that's how you want it, right? That's how you want it. You want to keep everything here is earned. So I look forward to that. I look forward to seeing who else we get. Of course, the portal will be open for a little while longer, not too much longer. And then, of course, I think it opened back up in the spring, if I'm not mistaken, for the second recruiting season, if you will, around February. So that'll be interesting to see if anybody else jumps in after the bowl game. I talked to a former UL assistant coach who also happens to be a good friend, and we were talking about that and how recruiting has changed since the 90s and the early 2000s in a way that, there's a lot of mixed opinions on whether or not should they open up the portal before or after bowl games, because now people are opting out of bowls. A few years ago, people were opting out of bowls. Now they're not only opting out of bowls, they're leaving the team and jumping into the portal, and like for us, for example, we have 3 offensive playmakers that are no longer on the team. They're in the portal and they're not playing in the bowl game. I kind of wish the adults in the room would find a way to make that rule necessary where maybe you jump in the portal after the bowl game so you have an opportunity to play. Now, granted, that may not affect whether or not a player opts out, but it gives a little bit more of an opportunity to see if they would stay in, and maybe that bowl game, if they do want to jump in the portal, can give that maybe extra boost of notoriety or credibility, right? You go play a good bowl game and on national TV against some good competition, and maybe after that you jump into the portal and say, you see what I did in the bowl game on national TV? Hey, then, but I'm saying that selfishly because that would have benefited us in many ways against a good, who potentially will be a good TCU team that we face on December 28th in New Mexico. I would have loved to have Terrence Carter, Harvey Broussard, and Trey Washington on offense, but unfortunately, that's just the way it is. So, there's going to be more portal news as time goes on, guys. We'll keep an eye on it. We'll post it on social media, all that other fun stuff. But, the big news, of course, it was Walker Howard coming to Louisiana. And, to Walker Howard, if you're listening, if you're watching, welcome home, buddy. Glad to have you. And, man, you're going to look great in vermilion and white. Can't wait to see what you can do. All right, so let's talk a little bit about what's going on around the Sun Belt. I also like to post some stuff about what's going on around the Sun Belt as far as coaching changes and everything, all the other fun stuff there. Let's talk about bowl season real quick, if you don't mind. So I want to say the Sun Belt has the most teams out of the G5 in a bowl. I think they have 8 or 9 teams. I don't have it in front of me, but it's a good number of teams, and it's very impressive. Congratulations to all our bowl teams. So let's take a look at the bowl schedule here. Let's take a look at some of the bowl teams from the Sun Belt Conference. We'll start with the IS4S Salute to Veterans Bowl, which will be played in Montgomery. South Alabama will be taking on Western Michigan there. The Jaguars 6-6 this year. They'll take on Western Michigan in Montgomery, almost kind of like a home game for them, not too far away from Mobile. It'll be December 14th, this Saturday at 9 o'clock. Actually, I want to say that will kick off the bowl season for the FBS level, of course. At the FCS level, the Cricket Celebration Bowl, Jackson State and South Carolina State in Atlanta, Georgia. I think it's kind of like the unofficial HBCU championship or national championship. So that's always a fun matchup, very entertaining game. But the Salute to Veterans Bowl, South Alabama, Western Michigan will play this Saturday at 9 o'clock in Montgomery. Let's see what else here. Also, December 18th, next Wednesday, 5:30 kickoff. I'm sorry. I I want to say it's a 4:30 kickoff, Boca Raton Bowl, JMU and Western Kentucky. That'll be played at the FAU Stadium. The Dukes looking to end the season on a high note with a nice bowl win against the former Sun Belt member, now Conference USA member, Hilltoppers. So it'll be the Hilltoppers versus the Dukes in the Boca Raton Bowl on Wednesday. And let's see here. And, of course, the RNL Carriers New Orleans Bowl will not be the Cajuns as Georgia Southern will go to the New Orleans Bowl to take on the Bearcats of Sam Houston out of Conference USA. Of course, Louisiana played in the bowl game last year and fell short in overtime to Jacksonville State out of Conference USA. Kickoff there will be at 6 o'clock Central Standard Time. So if you're down in New Orleans and you want to go support the Sun Belt, go check out the Eagles of Georgia Southern as they take on Sam Houston. Again, that will be Thursday, December 19th. Kickoff will be at 6 o'clock. Also, let's see. Oh, enough actually. So I'll mention some bowl games that, even though they're not Sun Belt, but some that you may be interested in. For example, the Union Home Mortgage Gasparilla Bowl, Tulane versus Billy Napier's Florida Gators. That game will be in Tampa, Florida, where the Bucks play on December 20th. That'll be next Friday, December 20th at 2:30 p.m. The Green Wave taking on the Florida Gators. Billy looking to get win number 8 on the year. Tulane will be playing without their quarterback. I believe, let's see what happened here. Darian Mensah, the starting quarterback for the Tulane Green Wave. He had a pretty decent game against us earlier in the year. He is now transferring over to Duke. He has committed to the Duke Blue Devils out of the ACC. Now, that is kind of strange to me because Tulane and Duke, they have a lot in common. They're both private schools. They have alumni nationwide. They have money. That's a mystery for me, unless they gave him a really, really good NIL deal, or maybe he just wanted to play in the P4. I didn't really understand that one, only because I thought that Darian Mensah playing at Tulane would give him a better opportunity for a college football playoff berth compared to Duke. I mean, look, at Duke, you're in the ACC. You've got a more of an uphill battle to climb to get in. So unless there was a really good NIL deal or some promises that were made to him that he couldn't refuse, I thought that was kind of a strange move for Darian Mensah to go to Duke. But, you know, again, they've NIL in the portal does crazy things. Anyway, so yeah, Tulane will be without their quarterback, but they will take on the Florida Gators Friday, December 20th at 2:30 in Tampa. Also, Myrtle Beach Bowl, December 23rd, next Monday, or 2 Mondays, or 2 weeks from now on a Monday, December 23rd at 10 a.m., the Myrtle Beach Bowl. Coastal Carolina will be playing in their home stadium in the Myrtle Beach Bowl against UTSA Roadrunners out of the American Conference. Coastal Carolina went 6-6 this year. Of course, the Cajuns were victorious in Conway earlier this season by the score of 34-24. Coastal don't really have to do much traveling. I guess they'll enjoy all their bowl amenities on their campus and in their stadium. I guess they'll stay. They get to experience their own hometown in a tourist way. Good for them. Good luck to the Chanticleers. All right, let's see what else we got here. Arkansas State, 68 Ventures Bowl down in Mobile, Alabama, which is basically Hancock Whitney Bank Stadium where South Alabama plays on the campus of the University of South Alabama. On December 26th, the day after Christmas, Thursday, December 26th at 8 o'clock, the 68 Ventures Bowl, Arkansas State will take on the Falcons of Bowling Green out of the MAC. So, of course, always got to pull for the Sun Belt there, even though they're a rival. Arkansas State taking on Bowling Green, December 26th in Mobile. Going down the list here. Also of note, of course, there's the December 28th, Saturday at 1:15, New Mexico Bowl, Louisiana versus TCU in Albuquerque. We've already mentioned that. And the Radiance Technologies Independence Bowl, Sun Belt Conference champion versus American Conference champion. The Marshall Thundering Herd taking on the Army Black Knights down in Shreveport. Saturday, December 28th. Kickoff will be at 8:15 p.m. Just to let you know, if you're going to that game or if you happen to be in Shreveport and you plan on going, just bundle up because usually that time of year it gets really, really cold, especially at night. So again, in Shreveport, the Radiance Technologies Independence Bowl, you've got the Sunbelt champion Marshall Thundering Herd taking on the American Conference champion Army Black Knights. Kickoff will be at 8:15. Let's see. And going down the list, got a big bunch of big games here. Oh, here we go. Surf Pro's First Responder Bowl, January 3rd, which is a Friday, 3 o'clock after New Year's. North Texas Mean Green will take on the Texas State Bobcats down in Dallas, Texas. Of course, Louisiana playing in the Surf Pro First Responder Bowl back in 2020 when they defeated UTSA by the score of 31-23. They actually play in SMU's football stadium on the campus of SMU. So good luck to the Bobcats again, January 3rd, which is a Friday at 3 o'clock. First Responder Bowl, Texas State and North Texas. And that'll do it for the Sun Belt Conference as well as some of the lagniappe here in bowl season. Again, good, and we'll talk more about it as time goes on. Good luck to all of the Sun Belt Conference members playing in the bowl season. All right, other news again around the Sun Belt Conference. Southern Miss has a new head coach. Charles Huff named Southern Miss's new head coach the other day. Pretty much right after Charles Huff held up that trophy at Cajun Field, he had a one-way ticket to Hattiesburg. He flew back with the team, I'm sure, back to Huntington, and then the next day he flew to Hattiesburg and took the job with the Southern Miss Golden Eagles. A lot of drama behind the scenes. Don't really want to get into it this late at night, but I'm sure when the guys come back and join, we'll talk more about that as we kind of break it down in the future. But yes, Charles Huff officially named the head football coach for the Marshall Thundering Herd, which means that Marshall has a new football coach. Tony Gibson, defensive coordinator from NC State, now the head coach at Marshall. So they pretty much knew it was going to happen. So the second that Charles Huff left, Tony Gibson came walking on in to take the job at Marshall. So both teams now with new head coaches. I think that's pretty much it as far as the Sun Belt goes for head coaches. Let me take a look real quick here. Oh, and App State. Oh, of course, I can't forget about App State. App State announced their new football coach after relieving. Let's see here. App State. After relieving Sean Clark, drawing a brain fart there, excuse me, guys. After relieving Sean Clark the other day of his duties, App State finished with a record of 5-6 this year. Of course, the Liberty game being canceled after the effects of Hurricane Helene. And because of that, they have a new football coach, offensive coordinator from, let's see, Dowell Loggins, the new head coach for App State. He was recently coached at South Carolina as the offensive coordinator, and he has a really rich history. He's coached with the Tennessee Titans, the Cleveland Browns, Chicago Bears, Dolphins, Jets. He was tight ends coach at Arkansas for a few years before going to South Carolina as the OC. Now the head coach at App State. I think as a play caller, App State has a really rich history of play callers as head coaches. So, of course, I'm sure that's an exciting hire for App State. And if there's any other coaches I'm missing, let me know. But thank you so much, guys, for tuning in tonight. Like I said, I'm riding solo, but that's okay. Just wanted to give you guys some content this week and just kind of talk a little bit about what's going on around Cajun athletics. So let's round it out one last time before we go. We'll talk some Cajuns hoops real quick, starting with the women. We always go ladies first. Coach Gary Broadhead and the ladies had a game the other day. It was Saturday, I believe, trying to get back to their winning ways after a kind of a disappointing weekend down in New Orleans with a Big Easy Classic. They came back after a week off last Saturday and took on the Rice Owls at the Cajun Dome. Huge victory for the Cajuns as they were victorious over Rice by the score of 64-54. Their record now sits at 4-3 overall. They're 4-0 at home, so that's pretty good to see. But they'll get back in action as they travel to Baton Rouge to take on the Tigers. Really, really tough challenge on Sunday. Tip-off will be at 2 o'clock at the Pete Maravich Assembly Center. The game will be on SEC Network Plus. You can listen on 103.3 The GOAT or 1420 a.m. And, of course, next Wednesday, I actually always look forward to this game. Next Wednesday, the Cajuns, Coach Gary Broadhead and the Raging Cajun women's basketball team will host Auburn next Wednesday for the education game. Tip-off will be at 11 o'clock. I just want to let you guys know, all right? There's nothing more fun, and I kid you not, I'm not saying this facetiously, all right, because I've taken my lunch breaks and I've gone catch at least a half or two when I get the chance. But when you have 3,000 to 4,000 screaming kids every time we score a basket, believe it or not, it is one heck of a home court advantage. If you get the chance to maybe take a longer lunch break or you have a longer break time, go by the Cajun Dome. There's free admission and watch the ladies take on an SEC school, the Auburn Tigers, at 11 o'clock against great competition. Great competition and 3,000 or 4,000 screaming kids. It's actually a lot of fun. I enjoy it. I try to go every year. So if you get the chance, I'll be there. If you want to come sit by me, I usually sit kind of by the floor behind, not on the player side, but on the opposite end, kind of by where the broadcast is. And of course, the game will be on ESPN Plus. You can listen on 103.3 The GOAT to 1420 a.m. So that's the education game. A lot of public schools or elementary schools, they'll take a field trip to the game and the kids start dancing. They have all kind of mini games. Pretty entertaining. It's actually very fun. So if you get the chance, take a break, a lunch break or a longer lunch break, go check it out. All right, moving over to the men's. Cajuns took on Southeastern tonight. The other day, of course, before we talk about that, they hosted Louisiana Tech on Sunday for a 3:30 tip-off. Of course, the game getting moved to Sunday due to logistical maneuvering. Their game was supposed to be Saturday, but because of the conference championship as well as the women's game, staff-wise, they had to move it to Sunday, which is totally fine. Louisiana Tech came to the Cajun Dome on Sunday. Cajuns actually played a great first half. Couldn't quite get it done in the second half. Got outscored, and they lost the game by 11 by the score of 69-58. Tonight, for those of you wondering where I was actually watching most of the basketball game on First Responders Night. Louisiana hosted Southeastern and made a big comeback in the second half. They were down by as much as 12 in the first half, but the team fought back, and they were able to get their first win since they were able to get their first win since November 7th in over a month. They were victorious tonight over the Southeastern Lions by the score of 68-61. Louisiana now sits at 2-9 overall. They'll be back on Saturday to take on the Lamar Cardinals at the Cajun Dome. Tip-off will be at 12 o'clock. The theme is Tropical Vacation Day and Kids Day. So if you get the chance, go check them out. The game will be televised on ESPN Plus. You can listen on 98.65. So again, the Cajuns will take on Lamar this Saturday at the Cajun Dome. Tip-off will be at 12 o'clock. And, of course, they open conference play, kind of an odd spot, but they open up conference play against App State next Wednesday at 7 o'clock at the Cajun Dome as well. So, guys, well, we talked a lot tonight. Well, I did at least. And just some final thoughts real quick. Look, I know there's a lot of frustration with the way NIL and the portal, all that stuff. This is, unfortunately, the sign of the times. But don't stray away from the fact that this football team, 10-win season, played for a conference championship, playing in a bowl game against a P4 opponent, one of which played for a national title just 2 short years ago. And I feel like a program that's on the up and up right now. I feel like, look, was some of the momentum halted on Saturday night? Yes. But there is hope considering that for the 5 or 6 players who are now in the portal and left, you've got a big one that came in Walker Howard, and you probably have some more coming in the future. But let's just give a shout out to all the players so far who have stayed and want to be here and want to be part of the culture and want to have that unity in the locker room and want to be part of something special here. Let's give a shout out to those players, because there's going to be there's going to be some more that leave, but there's going to be a lot more that's staying. And there's going to be some that probably get, interest from other schools, even though they're not supposed to by rules, that will still stay. So, look, I'm just going to say, if you're a player that left, if you are, if some of the fans, I know the way fans interact with players and whatnot, if that's something that, they say, they get the letters and, I want to thank everybody and I thank you for the culture, but I'm moving on. At this point, just say, hey, you know what? Good luck. Good luck. Thank you for your time. Let's not be ugly. Let's just, wish them luck. When you're 18 to 22 years old and people are throwing money at you, it's what are you going to do? You can't say no, right? So, but to the players who are staying, shout out to them. Shout out to them who want to be part of the culture. Shout out to them who want to build something special here. Because, last year, Coach Des would say a few times, we're really, really close to making this thing happen. And this year, for the most part, it did. And now the question is, what can we build on that to keep it going? So that's my football spiel when it comes to the state of the program, as well as the state of NIL and the portal. It's a dirty business. It's the name of the game. And unfortunately, as a G5 program, we're going to take some hits. But you know what? Believe it or not, P4 programs take hits. P4 programs, if you look last year, there were over 60-something schools, I believe, that had new starting quarterbacks, and a lot of them were playing musical chairs amongst each other. It's going to happen. It's going to happen. And I just hope that the more this goes on, the more players and people learn from what goes on. In other words, hopefully there'll be enough lessons learned to where in the future they're making smart decisions on whether or not a player wants to go into the portal. And it doesn't turn into this crazy musical chairs. It doesn't turn into this crazy Chinese fire drill, right? And I can say that because I'm part Chinese. Anyway, but let's be real. It's dirty and it stinks and it's a shame because it's free agency is what it is, but we also have to adapt. So whether it's NIL or doing what you can to support the student athletes, whether it's like Crew Along, there's some things that Rage and Review is looking to do to help with Crew Along in any way we can. We try to promote it. We try to do things to get people involved in many ways. And it's, sometimes you do it kind of you make a face like, oh man, you're paying players, but when it comes to name, image, and likeness, it's kind of what it is today. Not going to rant too much on basketball tonight. They won. Like I said, I watched most of the game before coming on here. Look, I know there's a lot of frustration. I get it. All of us are getting pretty impatient with what's going on. But I'm going to be positive tonight. I like the fight in this team. I like the fact that they came back and found a way to win. I don't like the fact that right now we're still trying to find an identity. And I'm not saying that as, they're getting better and all that stuff. And, I'm not trying to put down the fact that they're trying to find an identity. I just feel like if they would have done that earlier in the year, and I know we got Brandon Hardy back, which was nice. That was great. But man, we like losing to Nichols and losing some of those games, even to Louisiana Tech. We were just sloppy. We were just sloppy. And that's the frustrating thing. We're losing games by being sloppy. And I know where the fans stand, whether it's the program, the state of the program. All I'll say is this. Eventually everything's going to fix itself, whether or not whether coaches come and go, fans come and go, players come and go. There's always going to be a medium where the program's going to fix itself, regardless. Now, am I hinting at anything? No. Am I saying something's going to happen? No. Am I saying a player's leaving or coming or coaches are leaving or coming? No. But everything always comes back to the middle at the end of the day. And hopefully that can happen here. I want to win. Fans want to win. Players want to win. Coaches want to win. But if that's not happening, there's always a cause to it. What's the cause, right? My friend said it today. We were talking on the phone today. There's always a cause and there's always an effect. The effect is losing games. Why are we losing games? What's causing it? Is it injuries? Well, if it's injuries, what's causing the injuries? Are they running too hard at practice? Why are they running too hard at practice? Are they just randomly tripping and falling? Why are they tripping and falling? For every action, there's a reaction. What can we do to get to the point of the action that will allow us to improve and get better? So the team has a chance to come back and bounce back and rebound, no pun intended, on Saturday as they try to start a small win streak against Lamar. And then it gets busy. Now we get down to business after that. We get down to brass tacks. You open up with App State for conference at home. And then 4 days later, you play McNeese. And that's the game that everybody's going to be watching, including me. It's going to be highly attended. There's a lot of anticipation for it. You've got a former player, a UL player coming back who's a homegrown, who we know fairly well. You've got a head coach that, we have a history with. And you have a school that's a rival to a lot of the older fans, older alumni. A lot of you who were listening in went to USL back in the day, and it was go to hell McNeese where you're playing them. So I think that's going to be the tall tale test from a fan's perspective on where fans stand. I know a lot of fans kind of made up their minds, but that includes me as well. How we play against McNeese is going to be a barometer on which direction I think this basketball program is going to go. And I think as far as the guys at Rage and Review, we feel the same way. We may even have a post game after that. So let's focus on Lamar first and get back on track and see what happens there. But anyway, man, what a long night. This is the longest monologue I've ever done. For all the people that are listening in, thank you so much. For all the guys staying up late, I appreciate the love. But yeah, it was a long night. It was a long night, but I'm glad that I was able to come on and share some information with you, hang out with you a little bit. Hopefully next time around, we'll have the other guys come on and join. But, Nick's done this a few times. I think Nick's worked in radio. He's been a PA. I've done sports radio in the past, but I've never done something like this. So, again, thank you so much, guys, for staying put and hanging out. If you like what we do, please like, subscribe. We're on X, formerly known as Twitter, Facebook, YouTube. We're on TikTok, Instagram, Twitch. You can listen to us on Apple iTunes as well as Spotify. We'll be back probably sometime next week to discuss a little more in depth of the portal and all the different news. Obviously we don't have a football game that we play this week, but we will have some basketball games. And also we'll talk a little bit about more in depth of the bowl game coming up, what to expect. And there's going to be a lot of news between now and then. We'll talk more about the college football playoff. We'll talk about more coaching changes. We'll talk about how NIL has affected the team and how the portal's affected the team, because we can expect more to happen in the next week. We'll also dive in more to preview the bowl game against TCU. But, other than that, guys, thank y'all so much for joining me tonight. Again, I'm Jerry with the Rage and Review podcast. I was riding solo, but I had a good time hanging out with you guys, and we'll definitely be back next week, hopefully with the other gentlemen. We may even have a fan spotlight that we do. But anyway, guys, again, I'm Jerry. Love y'all. See y'all next time. And in the words of the late, great Big Dave Thibodeau, bye, we out of here. We'll see you next week for more Rage and Review. And as always, guys, go Cajuns.